The day before the wedding, my girlfriend's hotel check-in information was sent to my phone. I didn't make a scene or argue. I stayed at home, waiting for her to come back and give me an explanation. But not long after, her childhood friend posted an update on WeChat, a photo of the two of them lying close together on a hotel bed, intimate and unmistakable. The caption read, "If I'm going to lose you tomorrow, then at least let me truly have you today." Chapter 1. I caught her red-handed booking a hotel room with someone else. Carolina didn't offer a single word of explanation about it. She only sent me a message saying, "I'm ready. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow." When I saw that message, bitterness surged up from the bottom of my heart. What exactly was I to her? A second-best choice? My chest felt so heavy I could barely breathe. I lifted my eyes to look at the carefully decorated room and found it unbearably ironic. Taking a deep breath, I suppressed the sour ache in my heart and replied, "Let's not get married. Let's break up." Carolina didn't respond to that message. I don't know whether she saw it or not, but I didn't want to say another word to her, because she disgusted me. I did my best to restrain the sorrow in my heart. I put the meticulously prepared suit back into its beautifully wrapped box. Carolina was beautiful, outstanding, and had a respectable career. She was a senior executive at a state-owned enterprise, already standing at a level most people could hardly reach. In the eyes of others, she was a rare example of a young, capable elite. Many people thought I was marrying above my station. Even before the wedding, they advised me to be sensible, to know my place, and to be a generous, understanding husband. Remembering the kindness she had once shown me, I also tried to learn how to be a good husband. But cheating is the kind of thing that, once it happens, will happen again. What I wanted was a flawless, beautiful marriage, not a life strewn with wreckage. This was something I simply could not tolerate. Apart from my mother and my closest brother, no one knew about my wedding. So after making up my mind to break up, I sent them messages to inform them in advance. My mother was utterly shocked and kept urging me to think it over carefully and not act on impulse. It wasn't until I told her the reason that she fell silent. After a long while, she finally said, "All right, as long as you don't regret it, I'll support you." After taking care of all that, I cleaned up the carefully arranged marital home bit by bit. The wedding was cancelled, so there was no need to keep the wedding house. Once everything was done, I turned off my phone and went straight to sleep. As for what would happen next, I didn't care. But by noon the next day, I heard persistent knocking coming from outside the door. I deliberately pretended not to be home and let them keep knocking. When Carolina did something like that, she should have expected a day like this to come, just when I thought the farce was finally over, and life could return to normal. Carolina came to see me. Chapter 2. Her beautiful face was etched with obvious exhaustion, her clear eyes fixed on me without blinking. "Daniel, have you made enough trouble?" Her normally crisp voice carried a trace of hoarseness. I snapped back to my senses and looked at her coldly. "From what position are you questioning me right now?" "Daniel, stop making a scene. I'm really exhausted lately." Her tone softened, as if she were backing down. Yet even so, she still didn't explain why they had checked into a hotel together that day. I let out a cold laugh. Shuttling between two men, how could she not be tired? What does that have anything to do with me? I didn't want to keep going in circles with her. I stepped past her, intending to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. The moment her warm palm touched me, like a startled bird, I violently shook her hand off and glared at her in fury. "Don't touch me." Carolina's body trembled slightly as she looked at me in surprise. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to say something. "Carolina, if you don't want things to get ugly, then stop coming to see me, Daniel." Her tone grew heavier, tinged with displeasure. "You left me alone at the wedding venue and let everyone laugh at me. I'm already exhausted dealing with all of this. What exactly do you want from me? Can't you just sit down and talk properly with me?" "Talk about what?" "Talk about what you did after checking into a hotel with someone else." "Sorry, I'm not interested in your sex life." Carolina's dark eyes were pitch black, her expression so gloomy it seemed water could drip from it. Her voice turned icy. "Dirty-minded people see everything as dirty." "Yes, I'm dirty. I'm not worthy of someone as pure and upright as you." "Isn't that perfect then? Without me, you can find someone who is worthy of you." A chilling light flickered in her eyes. She seemed to be forcibly suppressing the anger in her heart. After a long, heavy breath, she said, "Daniel, whatever it is, let's go back and talk. My parents are still at home waiting for you to come eat." At the mention of her parents, guilt flickered through me. Carolina's parents were nothing like her. Her father was kind and easygoing. Her mother gentle and beautiful. They treated me very well, never shortchanging me in the slightest. Sometimes they even treated me better than they treated Carolina. Perhaps they believed that relationships should be reciprocal. They treated me well, and I would treat Carolina well in return. And just as they expected, I was endlessly tolerant of Carolina. In daily life, I never let her worry about anything. The first thing I did every day when I got home was cook her a hot meal. I just wanted her to be able to rest properly after a long, Tiring day outside, but I never imagined that while I tolerated her in every way, she never truly took me to heart. This matter had to be made clear eventually, so I didn't refuse her. I just didn't get into her car, I drove myself instead. Her expression turned unpleasant, but she didn't say anything. I followed her to her parents' home. Before we even entered, I heard her mother say, "We're out of fruit. Go buy some Daniel likes." "All right, I'll go right away." Her father walked over to the door. When he saw us, he paused for a moment. Then a kind smile appeared on his face. "You're back. Come on in. I'll go buy some fruit and be right back." I felt so awkward I didn't know what to say. On the way here, I had imagined them scolding me, blaming me for everything. I never expected that not only would they not blame me, they would greet me with smiles instead. In the past, I would always greet them warmly, wanting to leave a good impression. But now, the words of address stuck in my throat. I couldn't say them. Carolina took my slippers out of the shoe cabinet and placed them on the floor. I pressed my lips together, changed my shoes, and said, "Thank you." She paused slightly, her gaze toward me growing complicated. I deliberately avoided her eyes and walked inside with practiced familiarity. Her mother was still busy in the kitchen. Hearing our voices, she hurried out. "Daniel's here. Go sit on the sofa and rest for a bit. Dinner will be ready soon." She and her husband smiled generously, as if the cancelled wedding had never happened. Seeing her smiling face made the guilt in my heart deepen even more, but it didn't shake my decision to break up. I responded and sat down on the sofa, stiffly staring at the black screen of the television. Carolina poured me a glass of water and set it in front of me. "It's not your first time here. Why are you so nervous?" Without looking at her, I said calmly, "Because this isn't my home." Then I added indifferently, "It's not the first time, but it's the last time." Carolina gripped the water cup tightly, her fingertips turning white, her thin lips pressed into a straight line, as if she were forcibly holding something back. Chapter 3. At the same time, the doorbell rang. She got up to open the door, and her childhood friend Christopher's bright, cheerful voice came from outside. "Caro, what are you cooking at home? It smells amazing." As his words fell, he changed into slippers with practiced ease and walked in. He was still carrying gifts he had deliberately brought along. When he saw me, he clearly froze for a moment, then forced a strained curve at the corner of his mouth. "Daniel, you're here too." My cold gaze swept over him and paused when it landed on the slippers he was wearing. They were blue, cute house slippers with little bears on them. By sheer coincidence, they formed a matching pair with the not-so-cute pink bear slippers on Carolina's feet. I let out a self-mocking curl of my lips and swallowed all the words I had wanted to say. Soon, it was time to eat. As usual, Auntie paid close attention to my mood. Afraid I might feel uncomfortable, she even asked Carolina to help put food on my plate. Carolina frowned visibly, her resistance obvious. She had always felt that serving each other food was unhygienic, like exchanging saliva. This same scene had played out before. Back then, she had looked completely puzzled and asked, "Why do people serve each other food? Don't you find that disgusting?" I had already been tense at the time, and those words instantly killed my appetite. I changed the subject to get through it. Even now, she hadn't changed her thinking. Disgust rose plainly in her eyes. I smiled faintly and shook my head. "No need to trouble yourself, Auntie. I can serve myself." The smile on Auntie's face slowly stiffened. She shot Carolina an annoyed look, then smiled again and told me to eat more. Christopher raised an eyebrow and casually picked up a piece of sweet and sour ribs from the dish in front of him, placing it into her bowl. Carolina's brows flickered slightly, but she didn't refuse. She ate the ribs he served her, looking perfectly at ease. Watching the scene before me, I suddenly felt like laughing. She found my touch repulsive, yet accepted his attentiveness without hesitation. If her parents weren't present, I didn't even know how many harsh words I would have said. Auntie's expression changed abruptly, covering her mouth. She coughed heavily a few times. "Don't play favorites. Take care of Daniel too." Carolina shot me a glance and reluctantly picked up a shrimp and put it into my bowl. I'm allergic to seafood. After all this time together, she still didn't know. From that moment on, the food tasted like nothing. I didn't touch the shrimp she put in my bowl. After the meal, it was still sitting there alone, painfully obvious. I ignored it and said with a faint smile, "Thank you, Uncle and Auntie, for the meal. But there's something I still need to make clear. Carolina and I have already broken up. I'm very sorry. Uncle and Auntie, I've let down your good intentions." Uncle and Auntie froze on the spot. Carolina clenched her fists tightly, staring at me in silence. Instead, Christopher was the one who panicked first. "Daniel, what are you saying? Why break up for no reason? Aren't you treating marriage like a joke?" Looking at his feigned ignorance, I felt nothing but disgust. I smiled lightly and asked back, "You really don't know the reason?" "Daniel." Carolina cut me off. Her expression was dark, her face full of displeasure. "I've already told you. I only see Christopher as an older brother. Stop making a fuss over nothing." Christopher's expression changed, and the smile on his face could no longer hold. Chapter 4. I looked at her calmly and suddenly felt a deep sense of exhaustion. I slowly stood up and spoke softly to the still dazed elders. Uncle, Auntie, thank you for your hospitality. If there's another chance, I'll treat you to a meal. I just remembered I still have some things to take care of, so I'll be leaving first. Auntie was a sensible person and could tell that something was off. She stood up reluctantly. That's fine. Auntie's place is always open to you. Come by more often in the future. That wouldn't be possible. I nodded perfunctorily. After leaving Carolina's place, I went straight to my friend's home. Earlier, because of the wedding, he had helped me arrange the wedding cars. I still needed to take care of that. My brother Walter hurried to welcome me in. Then he brought out some popcorn, sat cross-legged on the sofa, and said, "All right, talk. What exactly is going on with you?" Personality mismatch. Different values. Naturally, we broke up. I said it lightly, but my heart felt unbearably heavy. Neither of us had expected something like this to happen right before the wedding. I didn't tell him the truth, partly to avoid things becoming too ugly and to leave some dignity for both sides. You've been together that long, and only now you realize your values don't align. Are you kidding me? I looked at him and smiled without saying a word. As a fellow man, how could he not guess the gist of it? Walter sucked in a sharp breath. Don't tell me it's what I'm thinking. You got cheated on. I pressed my lips together and didn't answer. My silence was an unspoken admission. Damn. I knew she wasn't sincere from the start, and sure enough, she played around until she was tired and then wanted to find an honest guy to take over the mess. Watch your words. Everyone has their own choices. No one has the right to control that. Walter snorted and said cheerfully, "It's fine. Pull yourself together. There are so many women in the world, you'll find the right one sooner or later." We chatted for a while. After taking care of the wedding car arrangements, my mood improved quite a bit, and I figured things out. I wasn't inferior in any way. There was no need to degrade myself over someone irrelevant. After adjusting my mindset, I returned to work. Colleagues who knew I was getting married saw me back at the office and offered their congratulations one after another. Looking at their smiles, genuinely happy for me, a warm feeling washed over my heart, followed by a wave of melancholy. Who would have thought that before they'd even finished eating the wedding candies I handed out, I'd already be single again? Daniel, next you and your wife won't be trying for a baby, right? When that happens, you'll definitely take leave to accompany her during childbirth. Everyone knows the manager position is practically yours. If you choose family at this time, it won't be worth it. During lunch break, the colleague next to me rolled his chair over and whispered. I had indeed been troubled by this before, reluctant to give up a promotion that was within reach, yet unwilling to abandon the small family I had just built. But now, my dilemma had resolved itself effortlessly. No need to worry. I won't be making plans like that in the next few years. Won't your family urge you to have kids? I smiled calmly. No one has the right to interfere in my life. Whatever it is, it should follow its natural course. The colleague froze for a moment, then gave me a thumbs up. You're really clear-headed, but you're right. Life is our own. No one has the right to point fingers at it. Bitterness welled up inside me. If I were truly that clear-headed, I wouldn't have had to reach this point before turning back. After that, I shifted all my focus to work and deliberately avoided anything related to Carolina. Only then did I realize, when you truly want to avoid someone, it's actually that easy. For 5 consecutive days, I didn't see Carolina. Just when I thought she had finally given up, she showed up at my door. I was carrying groceries I'd just bought. When I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a tall, graceful figure standing by my door. Carolina was holding a bouquet of vivid red roses. Her beautiful, delicate face carried an innate sense of superiority, impossible to ignore. I walked toward the door coldly, intending to unlock it. Daniel, let's talk. What's left for us to talk about? I glanced at her indifferently. Move aside. I'm going home. What happened before was my fault. I came to apologize. Chapter 5. I was surprised for a couple of seconds. I hadn't expected her to actually realize she was wrong. In the past, every time we argued, she never acknowledged her mistakes. She was firmly convinced that what she did was right, and instead thought I was the one making a fuss for no reason. She would just let me be angry, because she believed that once I cooled down, the matter would simply blow over. Perhaps this time she came because she sensed my determination to break up. I stood where I was, didn't open the door, and stared straight at her. Carolina, there's no need to apologize. We've already broken up. Daniel, I never wanted to break up, she said sincerely. My parents like you a lot, and I don't mind what happened with you canceling the wedding. Let's start over. Hearing this, my heart sank even further. This was the woman I had loved for a full 3 years. She didn't want to get back together because she couldn't bear to lose me, but because of her parents. Getting back with me was just a way to give them an explanation. How ridiculous. What did she take marriage for? I forced myself to stay calm, the corner of my mouth lifting slightly. Were uncle and auntie the ones who told you to come apologize to me? She said nothing, silently answering my question. Carolina, has anyone ever told you that you're quite hypocritical? I said calmly, my expression unruffled. A trace of surprise flashed through her eyes, as if she hadn't expected me to say that about her. Then again, she had been born with every advantage, winning at the starting line. From childhood, she'd been a little princess held in the palm of everyone's hand, with a highly respectable job and a beautiful appearance to match. Maybe this was the first time in her life that someone had ever spoken to her like this. Carolina, do you know what I actually want? You can tell me what you want, she said earnestly, as long as I can give it. I'll do my best to satisfy you. I curled my lips slightly and said with irony, you can't give it to me. All I wanted was her loyalty, her exclusivity. I wanted to be the one she chose without hesitation. Yet even such a simple desire was something I could never have, because in her heart, there was never really a place for me. Between Christopher and me, I was never her first choice. I took out my keys and unlocked the door, just about to go inside, when sudden resistance pressed against it. Carolina braced one hand against the door, her gaze heavy as she questioned me. If you don't say it, how do you know I can't give it to you? As soon as her words fell, her phone rang sharply. She hesitated for 2 seconds, then picked it up and looked at the screen. I was standing close enough to see the name flashing there. It was a call from Christopher. A conflicted look crossed her face. She didn't answer right away, while the caller clearly had no intention of giving up. I said, answer it. Don't keep people waiting. Give me a moment. She stepped back with her phone, preparing to take the call. Taking advantage of her inattention, I slammed the door shut with a loud bang. I stood behind the door, watching her through the peephole. Outside, she looked at the tightly closed door and let out a heavy sigh. As she answered the call, her figure soon disappeared from view. In just a few seconds, the hallway returned to its former silence, as if no one had ever been there, although I had long guessed how this would end. Seeing it with my own eyes still left me with an indescribable ache in my chest. Chapter 6. The next day, after washing up, I headed out for work. The moment I opened the door, I saw the roses placed at my doorstep. The roses that had been vibrant and dripping with color yesterday had dulled after sitting there overnight, no longer carrying the same splendor, as if they were reminding me of this pitiful life of mine. Before I started dating Carolina, I lived a carefree life. Whenever I had time off, I loved traveling to nearby places, checking in at different spots, slowing down to enjoy life. But she said those things were meaningless, that doing them was just a waste of time. From then on, I never traveled again. No matter how hard or exhausting work was, I always put her first, ready whenever she called. But I forgot one thing. When you do certain things too often, they eventually become something others take for granted. Pulled back from my memories, I picked up the roses from the ground and went downstairs. When I reached the trash bin, I tossed them in without hesitation. The cleaning lady nearby gasped in surprise. Sir, these flowers are still fresh. You're just throwing them away. I smiled faintly. I don't want them anymore. Flowers, I don't want them anymore. Carolina, I don't want her anymore either. I stopped responding to her, but she started copying what I used to do. She would bring me breakfast early in the morning, and in the afternoon she'd deliver afternoon tea. And not just for me. Everyone in the office got a share. My colleagues couldn't help teasing me when they saw it. Daniel, you're really blessed. Your wife is amazing at social relationships. She even knows how to help you win us colleagues over. Exactly. If I had a wife like that, I'd be secretly grinning all night. Maybe this is the sister-in-law's way of asserting her territory, subtly reminding the girls in our office. Her goodwill drew mixed reactions. Listening to them, I frowned. I had never told my co-workers who my wife was, nor did I deliberately talk about my private life at work. What she was doing was purely causing trouble for me. She was always like this, doing whatever she wanted, never consulting me, and all I could do was endure it. To avoid unnecessary trouble, if she wanted to deliver things, then let her. That way, I enjoyed a few days of solitude and gradually found myself again. However, what I didn't expect was that Carolina's mother invited me to celebrate her birthday together. Auntie had always treated me extremely well, but I also knew very clearly that I could no longer involve myself in their family matters, so I declined. Yet just after I turned her down, Walter invited me out for a meal, thinking it might be good to relax a bit. I agreed. What I truly didn't expect was that he booked the same restaurant as Carolina's family. I happened to be on leave that day, with nothing to do, so I arrived at the restaurant earlier than planned. Following the waiter's directions, I walked toward the private room, but before I even reached the door, I heard the sound of sobbing. Caro, if I'm willing to give up my current fiancé, and work hard to get uncle and auntie to accept me, can we go back to how things were before? Carolina didn't speak. She had her back to me, and I couldn't see her expression. Christopher's eyes were red when he looked at her. They were filled with reluctance and love. Because of his words, my heart plunged straight into darkness. A chill shot up violently from the soles of my feet. What did he mean by that? Had they been together before? Christopher, what happened in the past is already over. We should both move forward. There was unwillingness in Christopher's voice. But back then, didn't you get together with Daniel because uncle and auntie were very satisfied with him? I can learn to be like him too, to gain your parents' approval. Caro, you clearly said that in this lifetime, you would marry no one but me. Their conversation was like a sharp blade, every single word stabbing straight into my heart. My breathing suddenly grew heavy, my fists clenched tightly. Daniel, you still came after all. Behind me came Auntie's voice, carrying a gentle smile. Chapter 7. My stiff body shifted slightly. Carolina suddenly turned around. When her eyes met mine, a trace of panic clearly flashed through them. Daniel, when did you get here? Christopher stopped talking, his eyes, filled with resentment and unwillingness, fixed straight on me. My cold gaze swept over the two of them as I spoke plainly. I was already here while you were reminiscing about the past. Carolina fell silent. Auntie, however, glared at her as if facing a great enemy. Auntie moved her lips, wanting to say something. I spoke before she could. Auntie, happy birthday. But I already have plans with a friend today, so I'm really sorry I can't celebrate with you. Next time I have time, I'll treat you both separately. Don't, Daniel. Auntie, there are some things I don't want to spell out too clearly, but Carolina and I really aren't suitable for each other. I spoke decisively, then said lightly, since the two of them truly love each other, Auntie, you might as well try to accept it. As the saying goes, it's better to tear down a temple than to ruin a marriage. I don't want to be that sinner. I'm very sorry. With that, I turned around and walked straight out. The air inside was suffocating, so stifling I could barely breathe. But the moment I stepped out of the restaurant, all the restraint I'd been holding onto instantly collapsed. A bitter sting spread through my nose, dragging my emotions down with it. I really wanted to rush back inside and ask her, what exactly was I to her? A second best option? Or just a substitute for him? But thinking carefully, weren't the answers to both questions the same? Because she didn't love me. Because she didn't love me. It didn't matter who it was. My thoughts were in chaos, my whole body trembling slightly. At that moment, music suddenly started playing from the convenience store nearby. Break up happily. Wish you happiness. You can find someone better. Quite fitting. And it sounded nice, just not suitable to listen to right now. I lifted my head, swallowed the surge of bitterness rising in my throat. After a moment's thought, I still walked into the convenience store. I picked a bottle of some unknown white liquor, then grabbed a cup of extra spicy instant noodles. After that, I drove straight home. My chest felt so heavy I could barely breathe. Right now, I just wanted to vent hard. Strong liquor paired with instant noodles bursting with spicy heat. I ate until my nose was running and tears streamed down my face. No need to look. I knew how miserable I must have looked. But after that self-destructive outburst, my mood instantly improved a lot. It was just that the alcohol left my mind hazy, draining me of all energy. I collapsed onto the sofa, eyes half closed in a daze. Just then, Walter suddenly called. I answered, and his loud, careless voice immediately came through the phone. Daniel, what the hell? Did you get lost? Why aren't you here yet? The girls and I have been waiting almost an hour. I'm not free. I'm not coming. When I said that, my voice was dull and muffled. Walter reacted immediately and said earnestly, the best cure for heartbreak is starting another relationship to shift your focus. Come on, man. Work hard. I'll help you get over it as soon as possible. I looked helpless and told him my plans going forward. I don't have the mindset to date right now. I just want to focus on my career. I'll talk about relationships after my work is more stable. He wanted to continue on that topic, but I quickly brushed it off with work as an excuse. My mom really suffered a lot in her life after meeting my dad. Chapter 8. Before I turned 18, my father wavered back and forth between two women. He couldn't let go of his first love, yet he was unwilling to give up our family. In the end, he tormented himself and nearly drove my mother mad. It wasn't until the year I turned 18 that he finally made up his mind and abandoned our family. He took all the movable money from the house and left my mother and me destitute, struggling just to survive. It wasn't until the year before last that my mother met her second husband. She once told me that feelings cannot be forced, and they certainly cannot be settled for. Once cracks appear in a marriage, it becomes very difficult to mend them again. That was exactly why I couldn't turn a blind eye to what Carolina had done this time. I hate people who waver. In my view, whether a man or a woman, one should remain absolutely faithful in marriage. But she also made me understand something. In this world, the only thing that will never betray you is the money that's already in your pocket. Rather than wasting time being sad, it's better to spend more time improving yourself. So after that, I not only blocked Carolina's number, but also blocked her parents' numbers as well. Repeated incidents had taught me one thing. If you're going to cut ties, then cut them clean. There can be no lingering attachments. I devoted all my focus to self-improvement and work. Every day became a straight line between home and the company, completely pushing aside anyone who could affect my mood. Daniel, how many days are we going on this business trip? I finished organizing the items on my desk and looked up at my new assistant. 2 days. Just bring a change of clothes. My new assistant had been recommended by the previous one before she resigned. She went on maternity leave to take care of her child and introduced her younger sister to me. I normally don't accept nepotism, but her abilities turned out to be no worse than her sister's, so I kept her. Daisy was very capable at her job, so I'd never worried about her, but I didn't expect her first work mistake to happen during a business trip. At this moment, the two of us were standing stiffly in the hotel, staring at each other. Daisy looked rather flustered, repeatedly asking the front desk clerk, "Are you sure there really aren't any spare rooms left?" "Miss Daisy, I've already explained it very clearly. There truly are no available rooms, and it's been raining heavily for several days, tourists are stranded, and all hotels are short on rooms." "Really?" Seeing that she still wanted to ask again, I let out a heavy breath. "Forget it. One room it is." Fortunately, out of habit from traveling with friends, she had accidentally booked a twin room. Otherwise, if there had only been one bed, I really wouldn't have known what to do. Keeping the difference between men and women in mind, I deliberately used a bedsheet to make a simple dividing line between the two beds. "Daniel, can I call my family?" Seeing how cautiously she asked, I knew exactly what she was thinking. "Go ahead. If you're worried, you can do a video call. I'll explain things to your parents. Once the weather clears tomorrow, I'll book another hotel room. Otherwise, with a man and a woman alone in the same room, if word got out, it would affect both of us." Daisy nodded seriously. She followed my suggestion and video called her parents. At first, her parents were extremely agitated, almost as if they wanted to break through the screen and hit me. I patiently reassured them again and again that I would not do anything to her. Only then did their emotions slowly calm down. Still, they weren't fully at ease and asked her to keep updating the family at all times. I felt utterly helpless. If it weren't for the fact that I had something very important to deal with tomorrow, I wouldn't have minded sleeping in the hallway. "Daniel, sleep peacefully. I'll mute my phone. I won't disturb your rest." She curled herself completely under the blanket. Not even a strand of hair visible. Her voice was muffled. If you didn't listen carefully, you wouldn't even know what she was saying. I was extremely sleepy and fell asleep the moment I closed my eyes. Thankfully, once we got through the night, the front desk said there would be vacant rooms. Without hesitation, I booked one immediately. That finally avoided any further awkwardness. This business trip ended very quickly. The other party was someone I'd worked with before. We trusted each other, so the cooperation was settled smoothly and without delay. Chapter 9. After returning to City A, Daisy went ahead of me to the airport parking lot to bring the car over. "Daniel, considering how much you've looked after me these past few days, let me take you home today." "All right." I didn't refuse. Along the way, I was so sleepy I kept yawning, thinking that once I got home, I'd shower and go straight to bed. After a while, the car finally stopped downstairs at my place. I thanked her sincerely, which only made Daisy feel a little embarrassed. "No need to thank me. Go back, wash up, and get some rest. See you tomorrow." I smiled back. "See you tomorrow." She started the engine and drove off, her car gradually disappearing from sight. I quietly withdrew my gaze, but the moment I turned around, I met a pair of dark eyes burning with anger. Carolina stood there, furious, her eyes filled with rage. "You went to a hotel and got a room with her." Her angry voice trembled slightly, more like disbelief than anything else. Looking at her livid expression, I immediately understood whose doing this was. During this business trip, the only person I had mentioned that awkward night to was Walter. I composed myself and replied indifferently, "What does that have to do with you?" She sucked in a sharp breath and looked at me with a wounded expression. "Are you doing this to get back at me?" "Don't take yourself so seriously," I replied coldly, deliberately using her own words from before. Dirty-minded people see everything as dirty. Carolina's body trembled slightly, and she nearly lost her footing. Perhaps she was finally experiencing the anger I had felt back then. Unfortunately for her, it was too late. I thought that after this, she wouldn't come looking for me again. But the next morning, when I went out for work, I saw her once more. Carolina was still wearing yesterday's clothes, exhaustion clearly visible beneath her eyes. "Daniel, I bought you breakfast." She cautiously held out what was in her hands. I only glanced at it before looking away. I had never liked soup dumplings. Every time I acted as if I enjoyed them, it was only because she had bought them. In the past, I never once refused anything she gave me, but now, all I felt was irritation. I said calmly, "This is really pointless. Carolina, stop clinging to this. We should both move on." With that, I stepped past her and walked toward the elevator. Carolina didn't hesitate for even a second and hurried after me. "Daniel, I apologize for what I said before. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Inside the cramped elevator, her urgent voice echoed in my ears. I looked at the tightly closed elevator doors ahead, my heart utterly calm. So this was what it felt like, to truly let go. Carolina, do you know what I'm thinking right now? She paused for 2 seconds. What? I'm thinking that it would have been better if I'd never met you in the first place. Or better yet, if I had cut my losses the moment I learned about Christopher's existence, then I wouldn't have wasted 3 whole years for nothing. Pain flickered through Carolina's eyes. She spoke with restraint, suppressing it. But for me, meeting you was my good fortune. Hearing that, I found it incredibly ironic. I turned my head and glanced at her. As the elevator reached the first floor, I stepped out, facing her eager, hopeful gaze. I said calmly, "Let my misfortune end here." This time, she didn't follow me. Chapter 10. I had just arrived at the office and taken my seat when a few photos were sent to me from an unfamiliar number. They were group photos of Christopher and Carolina. In the pictures, his face was lit up with an undisguised smile. When he looked at her, his eyes were filled with tender affection. Likewise, Carolina was smiling radiantly, leaning intimately into his arms. They looked so well matched, so picture perfect. I raised an eyebrow, glanced at them calmly, and replied to him, "The photos are taken quite nicely, but you sent them to the wrong person." After sending that message, I removed Carolina from my blacklist. Then I took screenshots of the messages he had sent and his previous WeChat post and forwarded them to her. Along with that, I added, "If you don't want things to get ugly, keep your men in check. Let this be the last time." Once I made sure the message had gone through, I put her back on the blacklist. After finishing all that, I instantly felt refreshed from head to toe. "Manager Daniel, congratulations." The moment Daisy arrived at the office, she had a bright, uncontrollable smile on her face. As she walked over, a takeaway coffee was placed on my desk. I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean by that?" "I just overheard the boss talking on the phone in the elevator. It's already confirmed. You're being promoted to manager. As the first one to know, I'm congratulating you in advance. Don't forget me when you make it big." I was momentarily stunned. Just as her words fell, the boss called me into his office. Just as she said, I was successfully promoted. When I walked out of the boss's office, I couldn't suppress the smile on my face. I had known this day would come. I just hadn't expected it to come so soon. In the afternoon, I got off work on time. Then I received a call from Walter. The moment I answered, his excited voice came through the line. "Daniel, do you know what I just saw?" Before I could respond, he continued, "I saw Carolina and Christopher." Carolina looked really angry. She was confronting him. I felt no emotional fluctuation at all and asked calmly. And then Carolina said she doesn't like Christopher and told him to know his place. It's hilarious. If she doesn't like him, how did she end up checking into a hotel with him? If that's not liking someone, I don't even want to imagine what liking would look like. Hearing the mockery in his voice, I almost laughed along with him. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly. Then I looked up and met Carolina's dark eyes filled with longing. There was regret in them as well. I reined in my expression, acted as if I hadn't seen her, and continued walking. But just as I was about to pass her, she grabbed my wrist. "Daniel, I know I was wrong before. I didn't know my boundaries and crossed the line with him. Can you give me another chance? I promise I'll never have any contact with him again." Her clear eyes were covered with a thin layer of moisture. Her usually cold face was filled with guilt and regret. But there is no medicine for turning back in this world. And not every mistake deserves forgiveness. "Carolina, don't you feel disgusted saying this? What happened between you two in that hotel room that night, only you know. But I'm not stupid. Don't force me to spell everything out so clearly." Carolina's face turned ashen. She trembled as she asked, "Can you really not forgive me? I was drunk that night. I don't remember anything at all." You can use those words to lie to yourself. "We were together for 3 years. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are?" I let out a cold laugh. "There are plenty of women better than you in this world. Why would I hang myself on you? Carolina, don't take yourself too seriously." I shoved her hand away without mercy. Then, with visible disgust, I wiped the spot she had touched over and over against my clothes. Carolina's expression changed drastically, as if she might burst into tears the next second, but I didn't care anymore. From the moment she did what she did, she should have expected this day to come. Just then, Daisy suddenly came running in from outside the company in a sorry state, shouting. She said, "Manager Daniel, it's pouring outside. Can I get a ride with you?" Seeing her soaked from head to toe, pitiful little figure, I couldn't help laughing. I raised the car keys in my hand and said, "Let's go."